Vasudeva. Hare Om. Simno mitrasyam varunaha simno bhavatvaryama simna indro bruhaspatihi simno vishnururukramaha namo brahmane namaste vayo tvameva pratyaksham brahmasi tvameva pratyaksham brahma vadishyami ritam vadishyami satyam vadishyami tanmamavatu tadvaktaramavatu avatu mam avatu vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Prachya paschatya deshanam samanvaya vidhayakam Shantam saumya gunopetam krishnam vande jagadgurum. Om asmat gurubhyo namaha. Welcome to all brothers and sisters. We are here once again to continue our study of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. So we are now going to study the 10th Sutra. This is about the fourth vritti or behavior of the mind. So far we have studied about 3 types of behaviors of mind. Pramana, Viparyaya and Vikalpa. That means right measure, wrong measure and empty measure. So now the next one is, it is called Nidra. So Nidra means sleep. Now the question arises is, how can sleep be a behavior separately of the mind? This is something, this appears something to be something abstract or inexplicable. Because sleep is quite natural. Every one of us, we get into sleep. At any time, we may get into sleep, except for those who have some major problem to get into sleep. So sleep, of course, the other 3 which we have discussed are the behaviors of the mind, chitta vrittis. But how can we accept sleep as a behavior? So, first of all, we have to know that we have 2 phases, existence and non-existence. This is always there. And there is an alternate succession of these 2 phases. That is there right from the level of this creation itself. For some time the creation exists and for some time it does not exist. Existence and non-existence. So too with ourselves, if we focus on ourselves, we also, every day we have these 2 aspects in our experience. How can we know that we are existing? We know through our mind and senses. Without using our mind and senses, you cannot know that you are existing. So that is a fact. Anyone can verify this by himself. You can know very easily. So, through our mind and senses, we know what existence means. We do not know what is non-existence. Since we do not exist during non-existence, due to that reason, that we do not know what is non-existence. So the mind understands non-existence only as an empty measure or a false concept. Non-existence, if we speak of non-existence, how can we realize this? It appears as a false concept only. So, then the question arises, does it exist at all? What is it, non-existence? Does it really exist, something which is called non-existence? Is it possible? The answer is yes. Yes, it is possible. Non-existence also exists. Existence is existing. Non-existence also is existing. It be a little bit appears to be a riddle, but just we see. There is such a thing like non-existence. But how can you understand this? You cannot understand this. Then, if you cannot understand this, at least there should be a proof that it is existing. You have to prove it. Simply, I cannot make a statement which I cannot prove. If you make a statement which you cannot prove, it makes no sense. So if I say non-existence is existing, so we have to prove it. Where? How? We know because we do not exist for some time. We can know that there is non-existence because we do not exist for some time. Every day, there are some minutes or some hours when we do not exist to ourselves. Isn't it? When we are not awake, when we are in sleep, can you feel that you are existing? If all the time you are during the sleep, you can feel that you are existing, then it is not sleep. If anybody says, I am sleeping, that means he is not sleeping at all. If somebody is really sleeping, how can he tell you that he is sleeping? He cannot. So, we know because we do not exist for some time, and it is this what is called sleep. What we call sleep is that quantum of time when we do not experience our existence. That is how we have to explain it. Then we can understand at sleep. Because if we exist during the sleep to understand it, you see, some people always try to understand their own sleep. They make so many experiments in the psychology, in modern psychology, and there is also a specialization to observe us asleep. Other person can observe us when we are sleeping. But when you are sleeping, how can you observe yourself? You can try to make this experiment hundreds of times, but it is impossible. How can you understand First of all, to understand you should have mind. And what you call sleep is closing of mind in this state. Mind and senses both. Your senses are also sleeping, your mind is also sleeping. But your mind may be active in another plane, like dream. Dream is a different plane, it is not sleep. Many people are confused about sleep and dream. Both are not one. Many people think they are one and the same. No. How can you say this? You know, every one of us can experience that even when you are awake, your eyes are wide open, then also you can exist for some time in a dream state. Isn't it? You can sit on a chair, you can keep your eyes open, you want to read some book, and your mind is acting in somewhere else, and you experience, you get into that experience, and you do not see your book before you, you do not see any other things before you, even when your eyes are wide open, because you are in a dream state. So dream state is different, is separate from sleep. So therefore, when you are in sleep state, so you cannot understand it. That is the reason. Then non-existence would have been false. Sleep is known to us by the fact that we sleep and do not exist for some time. That is the fact. That is why we know what sleep is. So in this way we can define sleep. So during sleep you cannot exist. So that is well proved. That means you are non-existing during sleep. So now you have to accept that there is non-existence. That is what is called sleep. So it is also a behavior of the mind along with the other four behaviors. Only mind and senses do not exist. It means we exist with many others in us during sleep. What are the others? Who are them? So this is the proof that we exist. Who else are existing and who else are working while we are sleeping? Our heart is working. If heart cannot sleep, if heart sleeps, then you cannot get awakened anymore physically, isn't it? If your heart sleeps, if your lungs sleep, then what happens? You will go into permanent sleep. No question of awakening. So, who else is sleeping in us in the state? Is only mind and senses. Mind and senses can anytime sleep, go into sleep. So, this is a miniature example to know that we exist even when our body is not existing. Then you can cross the fear of death when you can realize this. So, this is a direct proof for us to know that we exist through births and deaths, and also through various dissolutions of this creation. Then we exist in the Lord. One with the Lord. That is how we exist then, at that time, when everything is in dissolution. So to live in this body with mind and senses, so we are given a body, an instrument, to dwell in it. So when we are living, we are dwelling in this body, and we have to dwell along with our mind and senses. But then also, if we realize this, so then we live in this body with mind and senses as the Lord. Lord is the object of our yoga practice. So our mind and senses, when we practice, that they can get absorbed into Lord consciousness, that is the yogic state. So what is called nidra or sleep, in the beginning it is difficult to accept that it is also a vritti. All the others can be acceptable, but nidra as a vritti, as a behavior, in the beginning, since we are not acquainted very well, that is why we cannot believe or we cannot accept that it is also a behavior. But it is a behavior. So, never we can know. We can just know that we are getting into sleep. We feel like getting into sleep. Up to that point we can know. But when it starts, that the moment we start getting into sleep, then our mind is closed and senses are. When mind is closed, senses are closed automatically. So, and after once again you are back, you are awakened from sleep, then you can say that till now I was sleeping. That much you can tell. But while you are sleeping, you cannot. So that is definitely a different, independent vritti or behavior. It's also absence of the activity, also a behavior. So actually nidra is, these behaviors are of, all these are, we are discussing behaviors of mind. So one of the behavior of mind is to be absent. That is also behavior. You see, many of us, while we are doing some work, we can be absent even though we are in the work. That is what is called absent-minded. And mind is absent-minded. So the mind has a behavior to be absent where it should be actually present. That is why we get into many problems also, because of this behavior of the mind. So, because sleep is a different experience. When we get into sleep, that is a different experience than the experience when we are awake. So we have to accept this. I think you will not deny this. Yeah, nobody can deny this. Because it is a different experience. So this is what is called nidra. But of course the modern psychologists cannot explain this in this. It is very simple, but they cannot explain because they make it more complicated. Even after so much of explanation and all these things, they can only explain you why you are not able to sleep, but they cannot provide any solution to you except giving a tranquilizer. You see? So there is no solution in the modern psychology to provide any solution for a person who is suffering from insomnia, who cannot get into sleep. So that is the problem. So, we have to get acquainted with a subject called spiritual psychology or esoteric psychology. Then we can easily understand all these different phenomena. So therefore, nidra or sleep is also taken as one of the 5 behaviors of the mind. So then you may ask, in the beginning, when we started to study about the 5 behaviors of the mind, it was told by Patanjali that you can make a right application or a wrong application also of any of these behaviors. If you make a right application, you can make a right use of this and then you can be happy. If you make a wrong application of these 5 behaviors, then you get complication. So you must know, you are given all these instruments to make a better use, not to make it too complicated. We have to use them. God has given us all these things, or this instrument with all these things, to make use of it, a proper use, without complicating them. But we make it more complicated, more and more, with our wrong use of these instruments. So first of all, we have to know this properly, how the mind behaves, in how many ways it behaves. Then we will be enabled to realize the procedure to get the behavior of the mind suspended. Unless you know the behavior thoroughly, how can you get it suspended? So yoga means suspension of the behavior of the mind. But how can the suspending procedure, how can you suspend the behavior of the mind? As long as you work with the same mind, you cannot suspend it. You must know the right scientific procedure which you have to apply on your mind and senses. Then suspension gets happen, and then you can attain the real state of our existence. So that is how Patanjali is explaining us first about the 5 types of behaviors. So far, we have observed about 4 types of behaviors, including sleep. Now, there is the 5th type of behavior. That is called smriti. Smriti is the 5th behavior. Smriti means recollection. Smriti in Sanskrit means recollection. That is also a behavior of the mind. So smriti, so recollection, is the behavior of not being distorted from the objects previously experienced. We have experienced some objects previously, and we got the experience with the object by the image. So here, not being distorted, that experience what we got with that object is not distorted. Then what happens after some time? Even without the object, you can have this experience. This also in our daily life, many times, we have this experience, but we don't know that this is the same. That is what we are going to study. You see, when the object of perception, when the objects of perception are there before our senses, then the mind receives the existence. Even then, what it sees is only the image. We perceive so many objects around us, persons or objects, but it is only an image. When you see a person, so I see a person whom I call my wife. So what I get into my mind about her is her image into my mind, but she cannot directly pierce into my mind. It is not possible. How one person can enter into another person physically? That is only possible when a lady is pregnant. Until the child is delivered, only that for that time, for that few months, another person who is a child can exist inside the womb of the mother. But afterwards, once the child is delivered, there is no other possibility. Either the husband or the child or a friend or an enemy, nobody can enter into this person. But image of that person enters into the mind of the person. Object or person, all this is only image. But we do not remember always this. We always feel that it is the object or the person is in us. That is why our mind starts reacting to it. But it is only an image. All our behavior is because we forget that it is only an image. So our likes and dislikes and all these things, it is because of our not knowing that it is only an image with which we are transacting. So the objects are outside and image is inside. When we call somebody a friend is outside and his image is inside us. Similarly with the enemy also. Enemies are outside. How can your enemies can enter you? Enemies are outside. But the impression about the enemies is there inside you. So this is what we have to realize. So hence it is always an image that is felt to know the existence of the object as a person. When this is done long after the removal of the object, the phenomenon is called recollection. So when the object is there before you for direct perception, then this imaging is going on, which you are experiencing. After some time, when the object is removed from there, then also your mind can experience the image of the same object or the same person. This is called recollection. So this is a behavior. So now you can understand this with all the persons. For example, when Lysan is with me in India, or when Ayam is there in Russia with Lysan, when she is translating for me, sitting on my side, then directly I can perceive her. But after some time, when she returned to Russia and I am in India, then when I think of Lysan, then immediately the picture is there on my mind. But she is not there directly, but I can experience her because of the picture in my mind. So this is what is called recollection. This is smriti. In Sanskrit, this recollection is called smriti. So, as this aspect of behavior has its importance to preserve the images and edit them into a story. All the images are preserved because our mind is a storehouse of all the images. But we have to edit them, otherwise it will be a big burden upon ourselves. All the useless things, if we keep without eliminating, see, even in your computer also, so many things will enter into your computer. After that, sometime we edit, and whatever is not required, we just discard them, eliminate them. So the same thing we have to do. So that is, always we have to keep it working on it. So the yogic practice of a student is to work on this, and then only you get your, what do we call, liberation. So into God existence. Thus smriti or recollection will enable us to get into God existence. Otherwise, if we don't use this editing and using this, we don't know, when we don't practice this, how to use this, then we get into bondage and misery. So the smriti is also important. So we have studied in these 5 behaviors, one what is called vikalpa. So this vikalpa, when we can use this vikalpa for a proper application, then it becomes smriti. Just a very simple example. You call a little boy and you say banana. So he can immediately feel the banana in his mind because he has a recollection. He was eating banana and experiencing it. Now, even though banana is not there before him, before the child can experience it. Why? Not only the child, every one of us. Another strong example is, just for the first time when you have a lemon with you, a citron, you take the juice of the lemon, first time when you have put it on the tongue, it is very sour. So you have experienced it. But after some time, while we are speaking, then when you say that lemon juice, then immediately my tongue starts salivation because of the recollection of the sourness of the lemon. This many times, every one of us, we have experienced it. We keep experiencing always. So this is the operation of this behavior. This is the behavior. This behavior is called smriti. So there is no object before us. But the experience which we had with the object is in the form of image. So that image came once again and we get into the experience without the object before us. This is what is called smriti or recollection. So before you get this experience, some few times or hundreds of times, we might have got this direct experience with the object. In the same manner, with a new person, first time we meet a person, so we have the person directly. Suppose first time when I have seen Peter, and so I was introduced, he is Peter, So he belongs to Ukraine, so he stays in that particular place. So all this. But after that, after a few months, once again if I see him, mostly, I may feel that I have seen this person, but immediately I cannot remember his name and his, because still it is not familiarized. I was not familiarized with this. But since some years, many times, we have met and we have been working together. So now, even when Peter is not before me, but if you say Peter, so image of Peter immediately will be on the screen of my mind. So I experience, oh yes, we have worked here, we have gone there. So all these things. So that is called recollection or smriti. We know this, but we don't know till now that this is also a behavior of the mind. It is a behavior of the mind. All these things are not new, because our mind and senses started working even before we start to study about them. This is a fact. Huh? When we were born, we started to make inhalation and exhalation. Then we inhale only oxygen and we give out only carbon dioxide. How can we know? Have you studied in a school in the womb? But automatically it starts. You don't know that it is oxygen, you don't know that it is carbon dioxide. After some years, when we enter into a school and into higher education, then we know what is oxygen, what is carbon dioxide, and then we know that what we are inhaling is oxygen, what we are exhaling is carbon dioxide. So, but even before knowing all this, we have been using this. In the same manner, our mind and senses started to act long before we started to study about these behaviors of our mind and senses. So it's quite natural. After some years we wanted to know. That is why we started to study. Now we can know what is the behavior of the mind and how the senses behave. Now we can know that. So therefore, here one thing is there. In this measure of recollection, it can be possible only when you use it in a particular language, expressed in a particular language which is familiar to the person. Suppose if a child is there, you say banana. The child must have been familiarized when hundreds of times you have shown banana and said banana, banana, this is banana, and you give the child banana, eats as a banana, and then after some hundreds of times, then the banana. But suppose there is a French child who doesn't know English. So if you say banana 1,000 times also doesn't mean anything to him. So this is also important for smriti, for recollection. This medium also is important. So now we have known to a greater extent about the 5 types of behaviors of the mind. So when these 5 types of behaviors are used as they are arranged in us, then they are used without any complication. That is what Patanjali said in the very beginning about when explaining about the 5 types of behaviors. In the very beginning he said, you can use them without complication, you can make them complicated in your usage, both the things. So our practice of yoga is to know how you have to use without complication, directly. In our life, Actually, many things are very simple, provided by nature. But our mind is habituated to get into complication. So that is why we cannot use them straight and simple. That is the reason. That is why we complicate our lives. Our behaviors like this. So that is why all the 5 types of behaviors can be used directly without complication. So there are 2 types of persons. Persons who use them simply and directly without complication, and persons who make it complicated. They use these 5 types of behaviors, each one very much and very well complicated. So the complication, it is simple in the nature. Nature has provided everything in a very simple manner to use them. But we, by our so-called intelligence, we make it complicated. So we make our lives complicated. Then our behavior will be in a complicated manner. That is what we experience. So, for example, you are at the dining table. So food is served before you in the plate, which is very tasty. There are 2 persons sitting together, 2 friends. I and Peter, for example, we are friends, we are on the table, and you have served a very tasty food, and we have started to eat, speaking. Meanwhile, some person came to me and told a secret in my ear. What the secret is, that I have taken some loan from somebody, and I promised that person that I will repay the loan at such particular time. But I have not repaid, I have failed. I have not repaid. I have failed to repay this. So that person was searching for me, and for some time I was escaping from him. So now he came to know where I am, and then he came, and he is at the door, and he sent a word to me, "You fellow, you are here, I know now, so I am waiting for you." So then the food before me, so much tasty food, our brother Peter is continuing with a good experience of the food. But I am also eating somehow, but no more I am experiencing the taste of the food, because my mind is with the person whom I have been avoiding to meet. So this is how we make our life complicated. So we cannot enjoy. We want to enjoy our life, but we are not able to enjoy our life. There are many examples. We are expected to enjoy our life, but we don't know the real meaning, what is meant by enjoyment. We make our own meanings. We want to create our own meanings to the words, like enjoyment and all these things, which is not real enjoyment. That is why the whole life we cannot enjoy, even though we are privileged, we are given a chance to enjoy. So therefore, these 5 types we have studied. So then, now, since we, to some extent, we have studied and understood to some extent about these 5 types of behaviors when they are used with simplicity or when they are used with complication also, to some extent we have understood. But still, we have to observe every experience in our life. We have been experiencing so many situations and things where we get excited, where we get depressed, where we get angry, where we shout, where we weep, where we laugh. So all these are reactions which are result of the behavior of our mind, one of these behaviors of the mind. So all the types of behaviors are classified under these 5 categories that we have to remember. See, very simple. Patanjali brought the matter very simple. We see many different types of situations and all these behaviors, but all these are categorized into 5 only. This is easy for us to remember and understand. Then it will be easy for us to work out how we have to suspend these behaviors. That is our next task. Our goal is to get these behaviors of the mind suspended. But before we start working for suspension, we have to very clearly know how our mind behaves. That is why so much of explanation with so many examples are given. So now we know. So then, how we can get the behavior of the mind suspended? Yogaha chittavrutti nirodhaha. So that was the very second aphorism. Yogaha chittavrutti nirodhaha. The first one is Atha Yogana Sastram. Now here are the instructions for practice of yoga. That was the first. So second aphorism is yoga means suspension of the behavior of the mind. And in the third aphorism we have seen that when suspension happens, then only the perceiver can be as himself. He can experience himself really when this behavior of the mind is suspended. Tadha drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam. So the perceiver can exist in his own nature, in his real nature, when the behavior of the mind is suspended. And in the next aphorism he has explained that if this doesn't happen, that means if the suspension doesn't happen, then the perceiver get identified, vritti sarupyam, identified with the behaviors of the mind. Vritti sarupyam itaratra. And then he started to explain how many types of vrittis are there. Vrittayaha panchatayaha, 5 types of behaviors. And each type is explained very clearly till now. So now the question is how the behavior of the mind can be suspended. We know now the behavior, about the behavior, but how it can be suspended is the question before us. This is where many people are not properly led, not properly educated, because suspension means not fighting with the mind. Suspension is to stop the behavior. To stop the behavior also, not to stop by force. To make the mind stop its behavior. You cannot start fighting with your mind forcibly to stop, because that effort you are making using that mind only. That is the reason. You wanted to make the mind stop the behavior, to suspend its behavior. But the effort to do this you are using for this the same mind which you want to stop. How can it be possible? So it is, the procedure itself is not scientific, not proper procedure. That is why even though you try for the whole life, it is a failure. So that is why how it is to be done, then Patanjali is giving this, about this, in our next aphorism. There are two instruments which we call two implements or instruments, whatever you call, both the same. We have to make use of these two instruments to get your mind, the behavior of the mind. It is the behavior of the mind to be suspended. It is not eliminating the mind. Mind is not some object which you can just take away. You can make a surgery and remove the mind. That you cannot do. You can remove any part of your physical body by making a surgery, but you cannot make a mind, because the mind is always disturbing. I want to eliminate the mind, so cut it and take it away, or transplant the mind. That is not possible, because it is not a physical, it is not an object on the physical level. It is on the material level, mind. So you cannot do that. So then how to deal with something which is not on the material plane? If your liver is damaged, you are transplanting liver. Kidneys are transplanted, heart is transplanted. So all these things. But mind? What about mind? In psychiatry, in the science of medicine, there is a branch called psychiatry, dealing with the mind. But what you can explain about mind? When you are not able to explain about mind, how can you give a solution? That is why they have no solution. They are only giving they want to give some medicine, some substance to keep the activity of the brain suppressed. By suppressing this, your mind is not suspended. Behavior. It is the behavior of the mind which is to be suspended. It is not to suppress the mind or eliminate the mind. This we have to clearly understand. So, Patanjali further says in next aphorism 12, he says that suspension of the mind can be made possible by applying two things, two instruments. One is called abhyasa and another is called vairagya. Abhyasa, vairagyabhyam tanirodha. So that suspension can happen by applying abhyasa and vairagya. Because it is told that you will get stabilized in your real existence, in the state of real existence, only when you can get suspension of your mind, behavior of the mind. When you can suspend the behavior of the mind, then only you can exist in your original behavior or your original light. Otherwise, the mind makes all the havoc. It will not allow you to experience your original existence. But if you want to know all these things and study the book and all these things immediately, you cannot, because you have to apply it, you have to experience it, then only you can know. This is something, that is why Patanjali said that there is not much to know, but there is much to practice. This is a very practical science, application. More application than knowing. Otherwise it is useless. We know so many things. We can make ourselves an encyclopedia of so much of information. Just like the memory of a computer. You can accumulate so much of information in the computer of your brain. But it is no use. What is the use of this? Unless you make an application in your daily life, it is all useless. So therefore, what Patanjali started is that apply in your daily life. What is given is to be applied. So abhyasa means repetition of the effort. That is what is called abhyasa. So here, these 5 types of behaviors only, nobody can exist in any another type of, or any 6th type of behavior apart from these 5 types of behaviors. This we have to confirm first. There are only 5 types of behaviors which are to be suspended. So you need not search for any more types of behaviors. There is no need to waste time to search. It is already confirmed. So now, so using the behaviors for suspension of the mind, you have to use the behavior of the mind itself. That is what Patanjali is explained to us. Using these types of behaviors only, that you can get it suspended, the behavior of the mind. That is the trick in it. To suspend the behavior of the mind, you need not bring any other instrument or any other thing from outside. You have to use the same to get it suspended. That is the art of the science of yoga. So therefore, abhyasa and vairagya. First of all, abhyasa. So abhyasa is, why abhyasa? Why we have to repeat the effort? Because our mind has certain behavior. So you have to make the mind to rectify itself, or to make itself to bring into proper behavior. That means from a wrong application to the right application. That is in a simple experience. A wrong application or the right application. That is what. So therefore, this instrument abhyasa Just we are entering into this subject and we will continue about this abhyasa. What is abhyasa? That is very clearly given, which is to be used. So abhyasa is there in the creation itself. That is a faculty in the creation. That is habit. Abhyasa means a habit of repeating. For example, every morning sunrise is there, and in the evening sun sets, and once again in the morning sun rises just like before. So this is cyclic repetition, and this became a behavior, a regular habit. This is a habit forming nature. So that is what is called abhyasa. Habit forming. It should become a habit. Then it will be natural. So everything in this creation is continuing because of habit. So that is abhyasa. So let us continue our study of this abhyasa in our next class. This abhyasa and vairagya, they are to be explained with more examples, and that we would continue in our next class. Thank you all.